Hi, it's Klaus Devore here. It's almost the end of 2024. The end of the year is nigh, and 2025 beckons. Just really thanks to all listeners, new and old. Much appreciated. It's always good to know somebody likes what you're doing, and it's all worthwhile. So no, thank you to everybody. And I do appreciate the comments that people make, the positive ones particularly. And I try my best to respond to those and answer them as soon as they come in. So please keep them coming. And the suggestions that people have for remixes, they're always very welcome. I still have quite a long list of possibilities, if you like, but I've got a few too many to deal with. So I will dig into those as time goes by and see whether there is the opportunity to do remixes for those particular songs. Certain songs, it's probably worth mentioning, are difficult to do because the vocals are heavily processed or embedded in the original mix. And bands I can think of that fall into that category are Sisters of Mercy and Susie and the Banshees, where there's a high level of vocal processing and effects being used. So it's really quite difficult to extract them from the original mix. I have managed to do a few Sisters of Mercy ones, but they are always very difficult, even with the technology now being so good. So I do try and do those bands because I do love them, but they are more difficult. The easier ones to do are where you've got a very clean vocal. Gary Newman's a good example, where there's no reverb or delay or anything like that. And you can simply extract the vocal with minimal additional sort of tweaking and get a really good quality mix. So thanks, Gary, for your incredible vocals. With this channel, it's interesting because if I look back a year, I had received a couple of copyright strikes. I'd done a couple of remixes for pretty unknown artists, if I'm being honest, and I wanted to do the less well-known artists because I wanted to probably bring those names back to the fore for people that knew them and also for new listeners. And I did a couple of remixes, and I'll be honest, I didn't contact the bands direct, and I got copyright strikes. And the thing is with YouTube, I don't know if it's still the case now, but certainly a year ago, if you get 3 strikes, the whole channel can be taken down. I think YouTube are getting a grip of the copyright rules a little bit better, but I still worry about copyright strikes, and that is always a risk for this channel. At the moment, I've got no live copyright strikes, so that's brilliant. But there is always that risk that you can get a copyright strike and lights out. I mean, I would challenge them, but yeah, it is an occupational hazard with a channel like this. So what I've tried to do is contact a lot of artists directly. The big names you're never going to get near. I mean, I've tried to contact Gary Newman's people, but you don't get a response. No doubt they're inundated. The smaller artists that were probably quite big in the 80s but haven't done much since and haven't had really any chart success, they're the ones that you can get in contact with, and normally you get an incredible response from them, and they're normally very positive and very engaged and very interested in what you're doing. So one of the things I learned from the copyright strikes is to try and make contact, particularly with the less well-known artists. For the big artists, what I tend to do is look to see whether other people have done remixes on YouTube, and if that's the case, so for example Depeche Mode, it seems to indicate that it's reasonably safe territory to do it. But there are some artists who will do copyright strikes without hesitation. And to be honest, it might not even be the artist. It's probably the management or the license holders. So people like Bryan Adams and the Eagles, they're not artists I would naturally think of doing. But yeah, there are certain artists that are well known for not wanting any of their work to be covered or remixed in any way. So it's always good to have a quick look, and that's what I do to see whether there's been previous remixes of certain artists to avoid the kind of copyright strike thing going on. It's weird because for the two artists I received copyright strikes from, I did actually contact them subsequent to the copyright strike, and they didn't engage at all in one case, and in the other they said, "I don't want this band to be well known. I'm not interested," and got very aggressive about it. So I thought, well, I'll leave it at that and move on to something else. So there we are. So remixes themselves, interesting to do. The technology really has moved on, and I plan to do more in 2025. And I look forward to any requests. I'll try and respond to those in the right way. But they do take a bit of time. Some remixes work really well, and you almost know within a couple of days that that's probably going to work. And then there are others you think, I really don't feel comfortable with that. Something's just not quite right. And normally it's the vocal extract. It's just not right. It's been corrupted, too heavily mixed into the original recording. And that's not a criticism. That's just the way it's been mixed. And it's just not right for a remix. And there are some bands I've started. There's quite a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor where I've started it and just thought, that's really bad. I'd be unwise to put that out there. So I try and quality control as best I can. I don't say that anything I do is perfect. So no doubt sound engineers could come on and analyze what I do and go, that should be different. You could have done better with that. Absolutely fine. No problem with that. Depends on who's listening, I guess. I enjoy the music from the late 70s and early 80s. I enjoy a lot of other music too, but I decided to sort of pick that time period as the kind of niche for this channel. And, I will continue to look at that period of time because it was a wonderful period of time. There was a kind of technological revolution in hardware where you had sequencers, synthesizers, drum machines, all sorts of stuff coming out at that point in time. And the artists that grabbed those technologies and used them to great effect, they're household names now, whether it be Orchestral Maneuvers, In the Dark, obviously Gary Newman, Depeche Mode, we can go on. And a wonderful period of time for music, a great revolution for music. And I'm just really pleased. I was, I think, about a 10-year-old when all this sort of stuff kicked off, and got fantastic memories of buying the vinyl and everything else. So that's a great period of time for music. I'm not one of these people though that criticizes modern music because it depends on who's listening. I think modern music is different from stuff from the 60s, from the 70s. I see videos on YouTube where people analyze music from the past and compare it with music being produced now. All music is brilliant. It just depends on who's listening, and I'm not going to get into that zone where the current music or future music's going to be bad. It depends on who's listening. If you're an 11-year-old hearing new songs from new artists, you're going to get excited. So it doesn't matter when they're from. So that's my view on that. I think that's pretty much me. I've waffled on a little bit there, but I hope people continue to enjoy the channel, subject to not getting any copyright strikes and being wiped off the face of the earth. So thanks very much, and see you in 2025.